she found out her husband had a second family, only to realize she wasn't the only one hiding something. Episode 3. The truth is just beginning. The dawn light crept reluctantly over the city, casting a pale hue across Rachel's face as she stood at her vanity, carefully applying makeup with mechanical precision. Her hand moved steadily, but her soul was trembling. Concealer covered the dark bruises under her eyes, but nothing could hide the weight of betrayal that clung to her like a second skin. Her reflection looked like a woman playing dress-up in the armor of a life that no longer belonged to her. She had barely slept. The night had been a storm of spiraling thoughts, Daniel's venomous words echoing in her head, that anonymous message replaying on loop on her phone screen like a pulse. "You're not alone, Rachel. Meet me tomorrow." She didn't know who this person was, but something about their certainty, their timing, made it impossible to ignore. By 8:45 a.m., Rachel sat alone at a window table inside the Willow Café, a quiet, ivy-wrapped hideaway nestled in the older part of town where no one would recognize her. It was the kind of place where secrets lingered in the scent of espresso and guilt clung to the polished wooden chairs. She wore a soft beige trench coat and a cashmere scarf, her hands wrapped around a mug she hadn't touched. Her eyes darted to the door every time it opened, her nerves twisting tighter with each tick of the clock. And then, at exactly 9 a.m., not a second early or late, the door opened and in stepped the woman. Rachel's breath caught instantly. She wasn't just beautiful, she was arresting. Tall, elegant, and poised, with a fluid grace that drew the attention of every head in the room. Her sleek, raven black hair was pulled back into a tight chignon, her features perfectly symmetrical, lips tinted a muted rose, and eyes dark with secrets. She wore a tailored navy trench and heels that echoed softly on the hardwood floor as she crossed the room without hesitation. Rachel knew before she even spoke. This was the woman. The woman slid into the seat across from her, her presence so composed it felt rehearsed, like someone who had sat at many tables like this before, revealing truths no one wanted to hear. A subtle fragrance of high-end perfume followed her, a scent that lingered in the air like memory. "Rachel Carter?" she asked, her voice low, smooth, and practiced. But beneath it, Rachel detected something else: sadness, familiarity, weariness. Rachel swallowed hard and nodded, her voice barely more than a breath. "Yes, that's me." The woman extended a manicured hand. "I'm Selena DeVere." The name hit like a thunderclap. Rachel felt her entire body tense. That name, she had seen it. Once, maybe twice. On mysterious envelopes in Daniel's briefcase. On airline itineraries she'd dismissed as work travel. On a greeting card she once found tucked in the pocket of a suit jacket and convinced herself meant nothing. But it hadn't meant nothing. It had meant everything. Rachel stared at her. "You know Daniel?" Selena's eyes softened. "I've known Daniel for almost 12 years, she said quietly. "Longer than either of us have known the full truth, I suspect." She exhaled slowly and spoke the words that shattered whatever hope Rachel had left. "Daniel is my husband, too." Selena's words hit like a sledgehammer. Rachel felt the floor drop beneath her. Her fingers gripped the edge of the table to steady herself, her nails digging into the wood. The entire cafe around her blurred and dimmed. Daniel hadn't just lied. He hadn't just hidden Monica. He had hidden this: a woman with power, beauty, and presence. A wife who had clearly lived a life of luxury built on the same web of lies. Rachel leaned back in her chair, the warmth of the cafe suddenly replaced by a cold, creeping doubt. Something in her gut twisted, not from disbelief, but from instinct. "I'm sorry," Rachel said slowly, folding her arms, "but you'll have to do better than that." Selena blinked, caught off guard for the first time since she walked in. "I mean, this all sounds convenient," Rachel continued. "You know my name. You claim you're married to Daniel. But for all I know, you could be a reporter, or someone with a grudge, or..." I don't know. Someone who watched my life unravel online and decided to insert herself into the wreckage." Selena's expression didn't flinch, but her eyes, those sculpted, dark, weary eyes, glinted with something deeper. Pain, maybe shame, but not defensiveness. "You're right," she said calmly. "You should doubt me. If the roles were reversed, I'd doubt you too." She reached into her designer handbag and placed a folded envelope on the table. Then another, and another. Then a photograph, a wedding license, an airline itinerary from 2 months ago with Daniel Carter listed under Mr. and Mrs. DeVere, a hospital billing statement, a recent Christmas card with Daniel's smiling face next to hers, and a young girl. Rachel stared at the growing pile of evidence, her breath trapped in her chest. "Do you want to come see for yourself?" Selena asked softly. "Come to my home. I'll show you everything. Pictures, letters, receipts. I'll show you the bedroom he sleeps in when he's with us. You'll even meet my daughter. Our daughter." Rachel's stomach dropped. She looked out the window, her mind spinning. "Not alone," she whispered. Selena tilted her head. "Excuse me?" "I'll go," Rachel said, her voice gaining strength. "But not alone. I need someone to meet me there, just in case." Selena nodded in understanding. "That's smart. I'd do the same." Rachel pulled out her phone and quickly typed a message, her fingers shaking. "Sophie, I need you. Urgent. Please meet me at this address in an hour. I'm going to see something. I think I'm about to walk into a truth I'm not ready for, but I need you nearby." She hit send. She looked back at Selena. "If you're lying to me," Rachel said, her tone like ice, "I swear I'll make you regret it." Selena looked at her with a mixture of sorrow and strength. "I'm not lying, Rachel. I wish I were." They left the cafe in silence. What lay ahead wasn't clarity. It wasn't closure. It was confirmation, and it was going to hurt. The two women sat in silence, a fragile alliance forged between them. The world around them moved on, baristas steaming milk, customers tapping laptops. But at that small table by the window, a war was quietly declared. And as Rachel looked across the table at the other Mrs. Carter, she realized with bone-deep certainty, this wasn't the end of her nightmare. It was just the beginning. Outside the cafe, Selena handed Rachel a sleek, ivory business card, the kind that whispered exclusivity. Her address was embossed in silver ink. "Come by in about an hour," she said, slipping her sunglasses back on with practiced elegance. "I need to make a quick Starbucks run and prep a few things at home. I'd rather you drive there on your own." Without waiting for a reply, Selena slid into the driver's seat of her pearl-white Mercedes AMG, the engine purring to life as she pulled off with the kind of confident grace only wealth and power could afford. Rachel remained by the curb, card in hand, her mind racing. She watched Selena disappear into traffic, her taillights blinking like punctuation marks on an unfinished sentence. Still uncertain, Rachel drove to a nearby gas station to buy herself some time, and maybe a moment to breathe. The familiar scent of roasted espresso did little to calm her nerves. She sat in the car, fingers drumming on the steering wheel, her eyes glued to her phone screen. Still no response from Sophie. Her silence stung more than expected. Rachel let out a shaky sigh, debating whether to just head home and forget the whole thing. She was about to put the car in gear when her phone buzzed softly in her hand, nearly startling her. A message from Sophie. "Okay, Rach, I'll be there. Is everything okay?" Rachel exhaled, her thumbs moving fast. "Number just come. I'll explain everything when I see you there. How long will it take you?" Another pause. Then Sophie responded. "Okay, darling. Google Maps says 37 minutes. Rachel allowed herself a small nod, the tension in her shoulders easing ever so slightly. "Perfect. See you in a bit." She dropped her phone into the cup holder, started the engine, and pulled out of the parking lot. She wasn't sure what she was about to walk into, But something in her gut told her this visit to Selena's world was about to change everything. The drive to Selena's home was quiet. Too quiet. Rachel gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles white, her mind caught in a tug-of-war between dread and determination. The GPS counted down the distance, but Rachel's thoughts were miles behind, still replaying Selena's calm voice in the café, still processing the documents, the photographs, the child. She had asked Sophie to follow 10 minutes behind her, not to be present for the meeting, but close, just in case. Sophie, stunned but loyal, didn't hesitate. Rachel needed to be smart now. Trust no one blindly. Not anymore. When she turned onto a long, tree-lined street nestled in a secluded neighborhood just outside the city, Rachel felt her chest tighten. The houses here weren't just expensive. They were impossibly curated. Magazine cover perfect, every lawn manicured, every mailbox clean. It was the kind of neighborhood where secrets didn't just hide. They thrived behind designer curtains and triple-locked doors. Selena's house sat at the end of the cul-de-sac, perched like a queen overlooking her quiet kingdom. A grand colonial with white stone columns, tall windows, and an imported wrought iron gate that opened the moment Rachel pulled up. She parked her car slowly, turned off the ignition, and exhaled. Her hand hovered over the door handle for a moment too long, and then she stepped out. Selena greeted her at the entrance, still immaculate, still composed. But there was something else now, something softer, a flicker of respect in her eyes, perhaps, or guilt, or fear, maybe all three. "I'm glad you came," she said simply, holding the door open. Rachel stepped inside, and her world shifted. The foyer alone could have housed Rachel's entire living room. Everything smelled faintly of vanilla and old money. A sweeping staircase curved toward the upper floor like a silk ribbon. A crystal chandelier sparkled above them. To the left, a sunken living room opened into view, decorated in creams and golds, with artwork Rachel vaguely recognized from a European gallery she once blogged about. And then there were the photos. Not hidden, not subtle, but proudly displayed. On the console table, Daniel and Selena on a yacht, laughing over wine. On the fireplace mantel, Daniel in a tux, holding a little girl with striking gray eyes. His eyes. On the far wall, a framed canvas of a family portrait. Daniel, Selena, and their daughter. Happy, comfortable, whole. Rachel stopped walking. It was one thing to imagine it, another to see it. "You live like this?" Rachel asked, her voice barely a whisper. Selena looked around, her expression unreadable. "He made sure we did." Rachel's eyes lingered on the portrait. "You said she's your daughter?" "Yes." Selena's voice cracked slightly. "Her name is Aria. She's 8. Rachel felt as if the floor had tilted beneath her. He's been her father. All this time? Selena nodded. Since the day she was born. He's missed birthdays, holidays, but he always comes back. Always says it's the cost of work, the burden of success. Rachel staggered slightly, gripping the back of a nearby chair. The same lines, the same excuses. God, he's been running a copy-paste life. Selena walked over and gently lifted a silver frame from a side table. She handed it to Rachel. It was a letter, framed, handwritten by Daniel. You gave me a life I never knew I needed. I promise to build you a world no one can touch. Rachel's hands trembled. She nearly dropped the frame. I got one just like this, she murmured. The same handwriting, the same vow. The weight of Daniel's duplicity was no longer metaphorical. It was everywhere, tangible, in every photograph, in every perfume-scented room, in every quiet corner of a house built on betrayal. Why didn't you leave? Rachel asked suddenly. Why not walk away, even if he begged you to stay? Selena was silent for a long time. Then she looked Rachel dead in the eyes. Because I was in love with the man he pretended to be. And because I was afraid that if I left, I'd find out he had someone else. That it wasn't just me. She paused. And now I know. It wasn't. A hush fell between them, so thick it seemed to muffle the ticking of the ornate grandfather clock in the corner. Then, from upstairs, a soft voice called out, "Mommy?" Rachel froze. Selena's expression softened instantly. "That's Arya. She's homesick from school today." A child's footsteps padded down the hall above. Rachel felt her stomach twist. She couldn't be here, not now. Not with a child in the house who had no idea her father was a human wrecking ball tearing through lives like tissue paper. "I need to go," Rachel whispered. "I've seen enough." Selena didn't argue. She simply nodded, walking Rachel to the door. As Rachel stepped back into the daylight, she spotted Sophie's car at the corner. The sight of it grounded her. But just as she reached for her car door, Selena called after her. "Rachel." She turned. "I think there's more. A lot more. He kept a second phone. He's made investments I don't understand. And he's been traveling to a city neither of us live in, regularly." Rachel's breath caught. "Which city?" Selena's face was pale. "Atlanta." Rachel stared at her, stunned. Daniel had told her he'd never even set foot in Georgia. And now, another city, another lie, another life. The door closed gently behind Selena, and Rachel stood frozen in place, her mind spinning, her pulse roaring in her ears. Daniel wasn't just cheating. He was building something big, and whatever it wasn't over. It was expanding. This marks the end of Part 1 of Episode 3, but the truth is just beginning. Don't miss Part 2.